Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. Lately, I've been feeling a bit off, and it's not the first time I've experienced this. A similar dream from high school has resurfaced now that I'm about to graduate from college and get married. I suspect it might be tied to something I stumbled upon online, which is strange. I came across a site called gaycafe.com, where I read various stories labeled as transgender transsexual. I had never encountered anything like it before. The narratives ranged from authoritarian themes to stories about children facing petticoat discipline, all revolving around the transformation of boys into girls or men into women. It must have captivated me because I didn't even hear Angela come up behind me. Angela and I are set to marry right after graduation. Her parents are gifting us our wedding and startup funds for my business, while my dad is getting us a new car. Considering that a nice manufactured home costs about the same as a good car these days, we see it as a generous present, no car payments to worry about. Angie is precisely the kind of wife I need, positive, assertive, and driven. She knows what she wants and goes for it. She's attractive and intelligent, embodying femininity, which I appreciate. I believe a girl should be truly feminine. I'm majoring in accounting, and my future lies in crunching numbers. Sure, it's not the most thrilling job, but the more dynamic roles are already taken by superheroes like Batman and Superman. Just a joke. Surprisingly, Angie admires my nurturing, homebody qualities. My apartment is tidy yet warm and inviting, and she claims I'm a good cook, as evidenced by my slightly chubby physique. Unfortunately, I'm overly trusting and rarely lock the door, which led to a series of questions after she saw what I had been reading online. I'm not sure how long she had been standing there, peering over my shoulder, or if she noticed the bulge in my jeans while I read a story about a girl systematically transforming her husband into a housewife. Meanwhile, I feel like I could play a stunt double for Casper Milquetoast. My restrained, let's be honest, submissive personality raises questions about whether it aligns with femininity. Yet, the thought of being compelled to be feminine, or even female, had an alluring thrill to it. It stirred something within me. The idea of someone controlling my life, taking charge, and transforming me into a girl was both exciting and frightening. Would I genuinely allow a girl to take control like that? If the thought didn't intrigue me, why was I feeling this rush and on the brink of an explosion without even touching myself? At the same time, the notion of someone, even sweet Angela, trying to do that was unsettling. After all, I was a man, and men weren't supposed to wear frilly clothes or revel in the sensuous garments that women don. But reading those stories opened my eyes. Some men did enjoy feminine attire. Women's clothing could be quite sensual and exotic, even if just for their amusement. I'd never considered it that way, but it certainly was sexy. Jensen. I was named after my Swedish grandfather. What are you reading? How long? I guess you can see well enough, can't you, Angie? She had caught me dead to rights. Yes, I can, but I had no idea such things existed outside of fiction like Orlando. Well, this is fiction, Angie. Just fantasies, you know? But do these things really happen? Is it possible to transform a nice, sweet boy like you into a nice, sweet girl if a girl wanted that? I'm not sure, Angie. I don't think I've ever met anyone like that, but if it were successful, how would I know? Good point, Jens. If she did a great job, how would anyone know? It's a devilishly fun idea, don't you think? I almost wish I had someone to experiment on just for the fun of it. I know how to get hormones for it. Why? Because I'm not the macho type. Do I look like a candidate for something like that just because I'm only an inch taller and about as slight as you? I don't act swishy, do I? No, of course not, honey. But real girls don't act swishy either. Anyway, go ahead and enjoy your stories. I have to get back to studying for finals and preparing for our wedding. I must remember that website. Very intriguing. With that, She left for home. I thought, thank heavens that's over. That night, the dream returned. I was at the senior prom, joyfully dancing and twirling in a blue velvet ball gown with 6 layers of crinoline beneath it. I felt like a beautiful girl with auburn hair, being swept off my feet by a handsome prince. But suddenly, I had to be home by midnight. My limo pulled up, and as my prince and the car vanished, I found myself standing on the sidewalk in a sweatshirt and baggy pants, feeling deflated. I trudged back into the apartment building and woke up in a sweat, the sheets damp. It felt so real, so vivid, and I didn't want to lose my Prince Charming, even if it was all just a dream. On June 15th, Angie and I stood in her parents' garden, the fountain's 3 tiers of cascading blue water behind the preacher, with 30 guests watching. The hedges were perfectly manicured, and the pool shimmered with a serene blue. Then, we heard the words, "I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride." Angie looked stunning, more radiant than I'd ever seen her. She had 4 bridesmaids from school, my brother was the best man, and my roommate was a groomsman. We were both in white, and I was bright-eyed and eager that day since I had skipped the traditional bachelor party. It just wasn't my style. We had planned a short getaway for the weekend because my new job started on Monday, and I didn't want to be late. It was a small firm with 1 CPA and 2 of us working towards our CPA exams as bookkeepers. I didn't mind being a bookkeeper, someone had to do it, and I was good at it. Once I obtained my CPA, Angie's dad would help me start my own business. I was more comfortable with numbers than people, except for Angie, of course. She was dynamic and vibrant, and I often wondered what drew her to me. Perhaps it was our differences, our strengths and weaknesses complemented each other. Amid a shower of rice, we left for the motel and spa that evening. After dinner, we indulged in one of the hot tubs, enjoying a soothing soak. It felt sensual, surrounded by bubbles, and the complimentary champagne only heightened the mood as we retired to consummate our marriage. I must admit, I was a virgin. At 22, what was wrong with me? I wasn't sure if Angie was experienced, but she had some adventurous ideas about foreplay. After changing into our nightclothes, she insisted we switch outfits. She made me wear her panties and nightie while she donned my pajamas. I wondered where she got that idea. I was anxious, but she kept soothing me, caressing me, and telling me how lovely I looked. Soon, I forgot about my attire and focused on the moment. It was an unforgettable experience, despite my feelings of inadequacy. Afterward, Angie returned from the bathroom with a washcloth and towel to clean us up. Then she looked at me thoughtfully and said, "Jens, I think I'll grab another nightie. Keep that one on. I just used it as a tease, but it suits you so well, and I love how it feels on you. Don't you?" I have to admit, Angie, I've been curious about how one of these feels. It's just as soft and sensual as I imagined. "Yes, I'll wear it if that's what you want." "Great. I'll get changed." That night, our first as a married couple, marked the beginning of a change for me. The next day, she encouraged me to wear a pair of her hip hugger panties, reasoning that if I liked the feel of the gown and matching panties, I'd surely enjoy the sensation of stretch satin under my clothes. Unfortunately for me, she was spot on. I adored them, and since I wasn't very large, they fit me comfortably. The sensation of satin against my skin all day was incredibly enticing. Within a month of marriage, things began in earnest. Angie moved into my apartment, bringing an assortment of herbs and vitamins she claimed kept her energized, and insisted that I join her, handing me a handful of who knows what every morning. I thought, why argue over trying to stay healthy? If it made her happy, I'd take them. I noticed that St. John's wort was one of the supplements and had heard it was recently approved by the FDA as a relaxant. I didn't realize it had side effects, those would come later, along with discovering the properties of licorice root. "What's in the big bag, Angela?" "A surprise for my sweetie," she replied. "Open it." Inside, I found 24 pairs of sexy, sensual panties in satin, nylon, and lace. "You can't be serious," I exclaimed. She looked hurt and said, "But you seem to enjoy my satin panties so much." I thought you might want your own. I thought it would please you. Don't they feel nice? Well, honey, they feel amazing, but I shouldn't be wearing women's panties. I'm a man. Sure, sometimes that's debatable when I cry during movies, but I'm still a guy. How can I do these justice? I'm bulging. Not that much, Jens. You know your size isn't even 5 inches at full attention. Just tuck it back and learn to cross your legs properly at the knee. If you want a smoother silhouette, we can get you one of those gaffs that impersonators use. They make you look convincingly female. All right, dear. Thank you for the sexy underwear. I promise I'll try to enjoy them. Soon after, I noticed that my old jockey underwear had mysteriously vanished. I didn't have the heart to complain about it. My new panties were incredibly soft, and they seemed to keep me in a constant state of awareness until I got used to the idea that I had easily become a panted husband, just like in those stories. Ooh, they were now simply my underwear. Could I really end up like one of those, wearing skirts and high heels? Oh my. That thought stirred something below as well. Once again, the idea of someone transforming me was a bit of a turn-on. Well, that was as far as it would go. Surely she didn't want to truly feminize me, make me grow breasts and everything. Right. Jensen, why don't you ever use the urinals? Mark at work asked one day. Just being lazy, I guess, Mark. Nothing personal, I joked. The style of the panties Angie had gotten me forced me to sit like a girl, regardless of what I needed to do in the restroom. They were cut too high for anything else, wrapping around my tummy, hips, and bottom in silky comfort. I hadn't given it much thought, but I had gotten used to it. I no longer even considered unzipping and standing up, even at home. To make matters worse, I started wiping instead of shaking. After all, I didn't want to soil my pretty panties, and shaking didn't get me dry. Nothing particularly unusual happened for a while, at least that I could notice. I revisited some of those enticing websites and found myself in a similar situation as before. I knew I shouldn't be, but the thought of being feminized without my knowledge or against my will, while scary in some ways, was also quite thrilling in others. I suspected that Angela was visiting some of these sites too. She wasn't as tech-savvy as I was and didn't realize that browsing leaves a trace unless you know how to erase it. I discovered she was logging onto these sites while I was at work. One was titled Girl Juice. She never spent much time there, but I found a disk labeled TG one day that I hadn't created, and it was password protected. I didn't want to know what was on it, so I left it alone. Perhaps she found these stories arousing as well. And if she did, what would that mean for me? We had been enjoying our marital bliss, albeit in an unusual way, with the groom still wearing lovely satin nightgowns and sensual ladies' underwear, while the bride was quite enthusiastic and appreciative of her indulgent husband. I didn't see any concerted effort from her to change my appearance outwardly. However, after about 2.5 months, I noticed she was paying more attention to my chest than before, which hadn't been a significant area of arousal for me previously. That was changing. Now, she could draw excitement from me, a tantalizing and novel experience. I had always been soft there, but now I was even softer. My areolas appeared larger, darker, and more sensitive, and my pointers reacted like bean sprouts when she teased or kissed them. I was experiencing sensual pleasures from them, which was entirely new for me. I wondered if all married men experienced this. Was this something that happened to a man after getting married? I was so naive. My skin felt different all over, and my chest, never hard like an athlete's, seemed to be softening into flab, as if I were obese, even though I was still relatively lean. Angela was enjoying herself with my chest so much that she started massaging some fragrant cream into it, or them, as it were. She spread it over my shoulders, face, and hands too. My waist couldn't be over 26 inches, if that, and my hips, well, that was another issue. My jeans were starting to feel tight. I had worn the same size for 4 years, and suddenly I needed a fuller cut. Sitting in front of a computer all day wasn't an excuse. And my thighs. They were getting heavier too. I was definitely gaining weight. I'd better check the scales. See, 6 pounds. I would have thought it would go to my waist, but it wasn't. The next clue came when I discovered 2 pairs of slippers and a new robe in my closet. One pair of slippers was white satin with a 2-inch heel, while the other was a simple pair of white scuffs with pink trim. Angie, I can't wear these. They're too feminine. Jens, femininity was created by men to avoid confronting their softer sides. They've pushed that part onto women, but you don't seem afraid like most men. I want you to move past those old stereotypes and embrace your feminine side. I think it would be fun. In fact, I'd like to give you some shots to help you along. Now, slip on the mules and robe over your lovely gown and come into the living room so we can cuddle while watching a nice love story together. Just look at how cute that gown makes you look. It's almost like you're developing a bosom. I tried on the new mules and put on the gown and robe without further protest for some reason. There was no denying it now. Angela was going to feminize me. Would I panic or accept it? Well, Jens, if you just did something with that hair. She didn't need to finish that thought. I was starting to grasp the implications. You've been spending a lot of time massaging me lately, Angie. Are you trying to soften me up and give me a feminine chest? I'm not trying to do anything, honey. But you are growing them, and by the looks of your triple lumps and how you respond in bed, I think you're enjoying it too. Oh boy. You are feminizing me, aren't you? You've done something to me, and my body is changing. My mind is beginning to like it, and you're planning to turn me into a girl or a she-male, aren't you? I'll bet you've been doing this since we got married. I panicked. Fun and games were one thing, but I was starting to look like one of those people I had read about. It was happening to Emmy, and I didn't know how to stop it. Worse yet, I wasn't sure if I even wanted to stop it because it felt so naughty yet nice. Nonsense, Jens. It's all in your imagination. How could I do that? I wouldn't even know where to find what you'd need to grow breasts. But you mentioned shots. If it's happening, it must be psychosomatic or something. You know I'm not giving you any shots. Maybe you have a glandular issue you're unaware of, or maybe you actually want them and don't realize it. Me? Breasts? Just because you've got me in pretty nightgowns and panties and heeled slippers? Are you saying my mind could actually be causing my breasts to grow? Sure. Why not? Maybe you're right. It's certainly possible. The mind can heal the body or make it sick. Seems logical. I do enjoy the feminine things you've given me. Perhaps my mind is creating these to fill the gowns. How strange. I am becoming quite a handful, aren't I? Almost, dear. Do they give you pleasure? Oh, absolutely. I'd hate to try and explain it, but it's thrilling when you touch me. I should be ashamed to admit that, shouldn't I? Of course not, darling, if that's how you feel. If having a little breast tissue makes you happy, enjoy it. I certainly do. Yours and mine. They're erogenous zones, after all, and were meant to be enjoyed. Do you think you might want to explore being more girlish? It would be so much fun. We could do all sorts of girl things together. Please, let me get you some girl juice. I promise I'll be gentle. You really do want to feminize me, don't you, Angie? I think it would be the best thing for you, lover. All right, I'm just a weakling, and you're the strong one. Do what you will with me. I give up. Just think of your new assets as bonus features, dear. You'll be much more responsive as a girl, and we'll have so much fun you won't believe it. My bonus features continued to develop over the next 6 months to the point of no return. I was now a C-cup and had to wear a tight sports bra under my suit coat for work. It looked like I had a fantastic pair of pectorals, especially when I let them breathe at home and wore a wonder bra. Oh my! Angie and I were now the same size, except for my slight height difference. Angela hadn't forced any more clothing on me. However, she suggested one thing after another. To cope with my tenderness, I started wearing camisoles instead of t-shirts under my sports bras. They were soothing, light, airy, and incredibly soft to the touch. Above all, they were non-irritating. My bottom, not wanting to be left out, also expanded to fit the available fabric. Soon, I found myself in the women's department buying size 10 jeans and slacks because my old men's sizes no longer fit. Not wanting to wear a foundation garment to control my growing tummy, I eventually gave in to wearing control top pantyhose as a regular undergarment under my slacks, which I paired with increasingly chunky-heeled slip-on shoes. My new breasts didn't fit into any of my men's shirts, even with a sports bra, so I soon found myself wearing tailored blouses designed to accommodate my voluptuous figure. Was my wife succeeding in feminizing me? Let's take stock. We had been married for over 9 months. Since our wedding night, she had gotten me into ladies' nighties, panties, camisoles, bras, slacks, blouses, hosiery, and recently added some mid-heeled classic pumps to wear with my slacks, though I'd never wear them to work. That was it. I'd had enough. I know I said to do what you will, but I was truly becoming a girl, not just in body but in mind. It was getting harder to control my girlish actions and emotions, let alone my growing desire for more of everything feminine. I was even emoting like the girls at work, and they were responding to me in kind. I have to go to work and live in the real world. I can't go around looking like a woman with this long hair and dressed like this. What will people think? Jenny. Huh. Jenny, I'm talking to you. Jenny. Me. You called me Jenny as in Jennifer. Calm down. Yes, I did. What's wrong with that? Jennifer is a beautiful name. You know exactly what's wrong with it. You're doing it again. Do I look like a Jennifer to you? Do you want the truth or what you want to hear? What I want to hear, of course. What else? Well, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I want you to go get your ears pierced tomorrow after work and have some nice little hoops put in. I will not, I protested, on the verge of throwing a tantrum. All right then, I'll just have to take you myself like a 2-year-old. Is that what you want? Do you want me to treat you like a toddler, holding your hand and making you do everything mommy says? In some ways, that would be more comforting. Just do it, please. Oh, fine. How soon until I'm permanently in skirts and high heels? Soon, my darling. Soon. Next, you'll want me to get a haircut, a perm, and a manicure with lovely polish on these 2 long nails of mine, maybe even a complete makeover. How did you know? Just a lucky guess. I replied sarcastically. Your appointment is at 4 p.m. Thursday. Don't be late. Zoe will be your stylist, and she has her instructions. You won't be done until 7. Be a good girl and don't give her a hard time. A good girl now. Suddenly I'm a girl in your eyes. No, Jenny darling, not suddenly. I didn't realize it until I stood behind you at the computer that day. The qualities I've always loved about you have been qualities any nice, sweet girl should have, which I am not. It didn't hit me until then. Those feminine traits just happened to be in a male package and felt out of place. I found I didn't mind the idea of repackaging them. Now, you're going to be my girlish husband, and you'll like it. You won't regret it, I'll see to that. So go get your hair styled and let Zoe do whatever she wants, and come home happy to be you, alright? And you'd better wear something feminine to the salon because when you leave, you'll be embarrassed to be in men's clothing. Oh, that's just great. Angie, I don't know if I can do this. Honey, you've already done it. The cake is baked. Your little body is a perfect size 10, and that face is too sweet to pretend it belongs to a man. So is your disposition. You don't really want to be a man anymore, do you? Sigh, I used to think so, Angie. Why did you do this to me? Because you really wanted me to, and I love you. I saw how excited you were by the idea of being dominated and transformed into a girl. You could hardly contain yourself. You were glued to the screen, mesmerized. It's time you ditched those stupid pants and started wearing stylish skirts and dresses to work, don't you think? You've got to be kidding. I'll lose my job. Have you looked in the mirror lately, Jenny? Do you really think I'm the only one who sees Jenny? Surely you're not that naive. I didn't marry you because you were stupid. Paul and Marie have been acting a little strange around me at work lately. While I thought I was hiding things, they and everyone else have been watching Jenny take over, haven't they? Yep. I know because I've spoken to them. They've been keeping me updated, sweetie. They can't wait for the other shoe to drop. You haven't got a masculine bone left in that effeminate little body of yours. It took a house falling on me to realize that those qualities I fell in love with in you were the feminine traits I lacked. We're perfect for one another, and it's about time we got you into a dress and high heels because you're going to live the rest of your life as my wife-girlfriend, and that, as they say, is that. I've informed your boss not to expect you back. Jenny starts on Monday. You didn't. Oh yes, I did, my love. You are my little Jennifer now, and they don't care at work. They've known for some time which way the wind was blowing. I dressed suitably for my appointment at the beauty parlor, where Angie had arranged for the works. I had never felt so pampered in my life, and I absolutely loved it. That night, we went out to celebrate at a fancy restaurant. It felt incredible to finally embrace my femininity. I'm not Casper Milquetoast after all. I'm a girl, well, almost. Now, all that's left to navigate is men. Oh, boy.